So this proposed settlement agreement is akin to having, it looks very much like it's been a cut and paste from MidAmerican. It's really akin to having the Fox design the hen house security system. All upside for the fox and all downside for the poor chickens. It really looks like it represents this cutthroat negotiating by MidAmerican lawyers. They're asking for the moon. If this is Madison County's legal team's rendition of a compromise, I think it's lacking, to say the least. This doesn't really represent negotiation. It's really outright surrender to big business. So I don't think MidAmerican is looking to want to be known as a company that tried to sue or bankrupt the home of the bridges of Madison County. This is really that would be a public relations disaster for them, I think, and they don't want that. I'm asking you to stick to the original ordinance and not go down this path of this compromise.
Okay, Dr. Ben Johnson, 1078 200 Street, Dexter. I'm a recently retired heart specialist who has practiced preventive cardiology for the last 38 years. Cardiology deals with all aspects of prevention, detection, treatment, and management of heart diseases. I have also spent the last 3 years becoming extremely familiar with health effects due to wind turbine noise. I wish to present my concerns about the adverse health effects related to industrial wind turbine noise exposure. I will also comment on the MidAmerican lawsuit and its consequences. At our public hearing 3.5 years ago, MidAmerican, now termed MAE, and their representatives of wind energy told us that wind turbines were safe, that they were not loud, nor caused problems of headaches, ear ringing, ear pressure, vertigo, fast or irregular heart pounding, anxiety, difficulty in concentration, among other complaints, all of which are called suffered annoyance. Annoyance is, by definition, an adverse health effect and does occur with turbine exposure. They said that wind turbine noise would not disturb normal sleep nor cause symptoms of chronic sleep deprivation. On the contrary, sleep deprivation or sleep disturbance due to noise is recognized worldwide as a serious adverse health effect. They also said that noise emissions, heard or unheard, would not promote cardiovascular disease or any other health problems. They did not use the word risk. They did not qualify what is safe. You and I were left with the impression that wind turbines were harmless. I would say that most people, including some of our supervisors, believe there is federal approval for wind turbines. To clarify, there has never been a governmental agency has initially judged or updates wind turbine health safety. Wind Energy does have paid consultants who provide opinions that there are no direct wind turbine related health effects. On the other hand, there are a large number of scientists who believe there is harm and credible risk. It is essential for our understanding in this controversy that safe means protected from or not exposed to danger or risk. Despite what Wind Energy would like you to think, health is not just cancer and heart attacks. Health is described by the World Health Organization, the CDC, and U.S. healthcare systems as a broad composite of not only physical and mental health. It is also, it also includes positive living conditions, all contributing to essential well-being. Health encompasses the whole of the individual and their interactions with the living environment and supportive social structures. Turbine health has been described as distinctly annoying due to its extremely wide range of frequencies and unique, non-natural character. Emerging data now exists that turbine noise can affect us through what we consciously recognize and unconsciously perceive. These direct and indirect responses may facilitate the development of atherosclerosis or cholesterol buildup, as has already been demonstrated with 2 other environmental noise sources, namely road traffic noise, principally through affected sleep, and aircraft noise. Those 2 noise sources have led to resident deaths. While currently there are not enough data to also confirm atherosclerosis from wind turbine noise, no data exists supporting an absence of that risk. Scientific studies confirm human reactions to noise produce atherosclerosis that is at a subclinical or clinical level. Subclinical means disease that is progressing over years to decades, but has not yet caused recognizable events. Clinical disease refers to disease buildup that has progressed enough to trigger a recognizable heart disease event. Rural America has 30% increase of cardiovascular disease as compared to urban areas, surprisingly. Added unknown risks of wind turbine noise to existing elevated disease burden of rural areas is dangerous. To my knowledge, the insurance company in Iowa does not cover any claims resulting from wind turbine exposure. Turbine noise is designated as pollution. Turbines have not been certified as safe and as such have risks that remain undefined and therefore uninsurable. Other forms of pollution are regulated at property lines. One would reasonably think that dumping harmful pollutions onto another's property should be illegal given property taxes that the owner pays and their commitment to protecting the land. It is truly trespassing. In Madison County, a health protective ordinance was legally passed in December 2020. Subsequently, MAE sued the supervisors and now is requiring, as a condition for settlement, the removal of any current health protective ordinance by amendment, which is MAE's term, and essential replacement, which is my term, with an ordinance largely provided by MAE. Amended is defined as making minor changes in order to make it fair, more accurate, or up to date. In my review, the changes on the MAE ordinance were very substantial. The primary intent of health safety regulation and county protection were removed. They also asked to illegally alter key aspects of the original Board of Adjustment permits. MAE is acting to remove county control of the terms and conditions of turbine operation through a coercive, undefined threat of monetary retribution. At the last supervisors meeting, the Madison County Attorney said he wrote the ordinance. I believe a reasonable person would believe that the concepts, if not the exact words, were transferred from a template ordinance provided by MidAmerican Energy. Also, as a condition of the agreement, the supervisors, who have the right and likely federally mandated statutory obligation to produce a wind turbine, the wind ordinance, were not engaged in the process. Among other concerns, proposed setbacks were in violation of turbine manual guidelines and renewable energy safety recommendations. The MAE templated ordinance allows extremely loud winds, turbine noise exposure at close proximity to residents, schools, churches, and libraries. The settlement agreement has vague wording to possibly allow MAE back into the county for a different project. The proposed ordinance has permissible levels of turbine noise exposure that are among the highest in the world, allowing 25 times greater noise energy, which is 5 times louder than the current modern standard world standard, as I judge it, which is only 35 dBA LEQ. The 2018 World Health Organization recommendation stated that it should remain under 45 dBA because of recognized adverse health effects. The proposed MAE ordinance would equate to sleeping conditions with the window open during turbine operation at full rated capacity as at least as loud as noise levels present on a downtown city street in the middle of the day. Using a 2 megawatt Vestas turbine as proposed with the initial BOA at 1,000 feet from a house, acoustical calculations derived from referenced modeled emissions through computerized modeling was done. Variables included 1 to 4 turbines, steady versus turbulent winds, and the presence of noise amplitude modulation were considered. Conservative calculated exceedance above 60 were by 3 dBA with 1 turbine above, and by about 9 in turbulent winds with amplitude modulation with 4 turbines. Remember that 60 is extremely loud and still will be exceeded and cannot be practically enforced. Please note that the current protective ordinance includes measures for both audible noise and low frequency noise, the latter requirement taken from established industrial low frequency noise regulation. The proposed MAE ordinance would prevent much greater noise than the current health protective ordinance by 13 to 43 dBA, which is nearly 9 times louder. Using the Health Canada study that the wind energy accepts, applying the MAE ordinance, fully 60% of the residents would be highly annoyed at the house, whereas the health protective ordinance, only 4% would be highly annoyed at the property line. MidAmerican ordinance is not protective of our health and will very negatively affect our communities. Our, not their quality of life, will be taken from us. MidAmerican Energy has not acted in good faith. Accepting the proposal will subject the people of Madison County to health risks, some of which are well proven, others that will require years of exposure to fully understand. In a 2020 published peer-reviewed journal article, interviews of residents living near wind turbines in Ontario, Canada, were obtained. Participants had exposures of less than 46 dBA and all had or seriously considered vacating their homes. Most of their emotional quotes reflect the feeling that they are being treated, quote, as guinea pigs and lab rats. We know that wind turbines cause harm. It is time we stop pretending and hoping they are safe. They are not safe.
Michelle Brandt, 1341 150th Street, Earlham. And I'm here today to speak and voice my disappointment that we're settling with MidAmerican Energy. Of course, this came as a big surprise. And we're settling as it pertains to the health and safety of the residents of Arbor Hill. To give in to fraud that was perpetuated on our county in 2018 is shameful. To protect only some of the residents in Madison County and not all, as you swore an oath to do, now that you guys are protected by districting, shameful. To not let the judge decide, shameful. To switch positions and be willing to settle without letting this litigation go to the judge, if it's lawsuits you're afraid of, you are just kicking the can down the road. Because when residents of Arbor Hill get sick and suffer and have their property values take a dive, when our rights to do what we want with our property are limited by the circumference of wind turbines, somebody's going to be held responsible. And it's going to be the county. To obliterate everything we've worked so hard for, I understand that the project needed to reduce setbacks to proceed because, by God, we want to make sure that this is the most affordable thing for MidAmerican Energy. However, what made me the most frustrated was that you completely threw out everything other than the setbacks that are non-consequential. The ADLS technology, the noise level increases, and there's something in there that says the operator can go to our Board of Adjustments and ask for the levels to be raised. That's absolutely unacceptable. And that's not protecting me, my family, or my neighbors. Again, if I had my dream, we wouldn't have any Arbor Hill. But understanding the reality that we may actually end up with the setbacks being reduced and end up with turbines. But I think that what you guys have settled for is so, you're selling us out. I don't know who wrote this, but it's ridiculous. I'm just ashamed. And lastly, the decommissioning language. Now, I've reached out and tried to get clarification on this. So understand that my comments are based on the ordinance, Heather's ordinance, and the settlement. And what I don't understand is why the language is different for decommissioning and funding the deconstruction, why the language is different for Arbor Hill, between Maxburg and Arbor Hill. That needs to be explained to me. And I think it sounds skeezy. I don't know, maybe the Arbor Hills were sitting better. I don't know, because that has not been answered. I hope you guys do know the answer, because as the people who are going to vote on this is on you guys to know everything there is to know. And some of the comments that I received were that you guys are less sure of this settlement than you should be. I want to know what the cost of the ADLS technology, what's the difference there? Because I know I'm going to have 3 flashing lights outside my bedroom window and 1 outside my upstairs den. I know, boo-hoo me. But we're not going to farm forever, and I really do think it's going to affect our property value and when I go to sell. And that's my rights as a landowner. I've been here for 20 years. We pay our taxes just like everybody else. And remember, you guys need to be protecting everyone. And that's all I'm going to say.
Mary Jobst, 1281 Pitzer Road, Earlham, Iowa. I do not consent to the proposed 30 turbine Arbor Hill settlement with MidAmerican Energy. Why? Because it is an unfair, unjust infringement upon the rights of the citizens living in Northwest Madison County, who are being used as pawns in the battle of power and money over people. This is not consent of the government. Here's just one example. My mother, Peggy Wells, is a 91-year-old widow who lives in Dexter, Iowa. She's an absentee landowner in this proposed Arbor Hill project, who, like my husband and I, signed MidAmerica's one-side easement contract in 2017, going along with a slick sales pitch, not realizing the impacts of 500-foot tall industrial wind turbines, what they could do on surrounding neighbors. She, like us, now knows much more than we did then. The evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. Industrial wind turbines pose very real risks to the health and to the quality of life of residents living near them, not to mention other risks they pose to wildlife and the environment. Mom sent a letter to MidAmerican requesting termination of her easement last year because she doesn't want to financially benefit from a turbine on her land while exposing nearby neighbors to their harm. Her request was denied, just like ours. She was sad when I told her the other day about this proposed settlement that includes a turbine on her land she doesn't want. Our neighbors, Ken and Lila Cresswell, are non-participating landowners who live just about a quarter of a mile away to the west of that proposed turbine on my mom's land. When I sent an email a couple of weeks ago to Lila to let her know the bad news that the proposed turbine on my mom's land is one of the 30 on this settlement list, here's how Lila responded, and I quote, "Mary, this is what I can tell you. Not sure it will be of help. Ken is almost totally blind. Only 1/4 of an eye to use. Right eye when fourth vision is not 20/20. Left eye is gone. Bright sun, lights, etc. affect what vision he has. Besides that, he has 2 bad knees and he can hardly walk. So between low vision and knee issues, he is disabled. He does not go where the crowds or into unfamiliar places. I had to get him out of jury duty. He had bypass surgery years ago. He has arthritis too. I don't have major issues, just growing more mature. We don't want our space invaded by shadowing and flickering lights. We open our windows before air conditioning and heating season. Blinking lights to the east of our house will affect both our living room and our bedroom. We already have plenty of blinking lights on the west side of our house. Don't know what else I can tell you. We are thankful for what little vision Ken has." Lila. Mom, Ken, and Lila are just one example, close to my heart, of the harms MidAmerican Energy will inflict upon people in our neighborhood if the proposed 30 turbines are built. There are many others. Bottom line, this controversy comes down to a choice between money or people. To my fellow participating landowner neighbors, who, like my husband and I, foolishly signed MidAmerica's one-sided easements without doing proper due diligence, I ask you, is the money from hosting wind turbines really more important to you than your neighbors who will be forced to live around them against their consent? Have you contacted all your close neighbors and even asked them how they feel about turbines? I know that every one of you believes love does no harm to a neighbor. I know that every one of you believes in loving your neighbor as yourself. Give it some thought. Give it some prayer. please consider contacting MidAmerican to respectfully request out on behalf of your neighbors. Ask them to walk away from this Arbor Hill project. To my fellow non-participating landowners and residents who will be impacted if this settlement is approved. If you don't want to be exposed to these turbines, make your voice heard. Contact MidAmerica, hosting landowners, and our supervisors. Respectfully assert your right to not consent. Silence is implied consent. To MidAmerican Energy, I don't know if there's any representatives of MidAmerican here tonight. Is your claimed vested legal interest in your proposed but unbuilt Arbor Hill project really worth using your corporate power and money to bully your way into our quiet rural community against the consent of the majority of the people living here? Show us that MidAmerican truly is a moral and ethical company, a company who stands by their motto that they are obsessively, relentlessly at our service. Do the right thing. Accept a grandfathering clause for the Maxburg project. It's already built and operating. You can't undo it. But walk away from this proposed and unbuilt Arbor Hill project. To you, our county supervisors, do you still believe that you did your duty and did the right thing when you enacted a protective wind ordinance in 2020 based upon long overdue due diligence? The Arbor Hill project is nothing more than plans on paper. Nothing has been built. Don't go back on your words and your promises to us. Don't accept this proposed settlement that is an unjust trade-off of people for money. Be bold. Be courageous leaders who stand by your word and promises to protect the health, safety, and welfare of we the people who elected you to serve us in Madison County. Thank you very much.
Dave Marsh, 1176 Adair Madison Avenue, lifelong member of Penn Township in the Arbor Hill area, half a mile away from the Arbor Hill Turbines in Adair County. In 1982, I was on a jury here in Madison County. This trial was to settle a dispute between the bank and a farmer's widow of whether the bank should cover an insured farm loan in full or just part. After going through the drawing of the jury and the alternates, after the lawyers had interviewed the potential jury members, after the jury and alternates was agreed upon, and after one full day of the trial, we all showed up the second day and sat around for about an hour when the judge came out and said, "You can all go home because the parties have settled." My point is, there is never a best, last, and final offer until the decision is in the judge's or the jury's hands. Just recently, John Deere workers went on strike. They were given what many people thought was a good offer and were told by John Deere it was their best, last, and final offer. The offer was rejected by the workers, and then John Deere came back with a better offer. It was just then the so-called best and last final offer. My point is, how do the supervisors really know the amount of liability they will have? MidAmerica has thrown out a number like $700,000 with no proof. When there's a lawsuit like this, during the process, one of the things that happens is discovery. That means it's the burden of MidAmerica, because they are the plaintiff, to give some hard numbers with dates and when the money was spent. We don't know when the money was spent, before or after the approval of the height variance. If the money was spent before the approval, the county would owe nothing. MidAmerica's money was spent in preparation of a potential approval at its own risk. The lawsuit hasn't got to that point in the process yet. MidAmerica has said, this is our best, last, and final offer. I want the process to continue and not settle. You have the right to get more details. You can settle even after the trial has started, because it's never the best, last, and final offer until it's in the judge's hands. Now is not the time to settle.
Thank you. Adam Nichols, 1869 105th Street in Earlham. I speak to you today not from a position of professional expertise, but as a husband and a father of 7 children, future taxpayers. I'm very proud to call Madison County home. I moved here because of the agricultural heritage that I expect will continue to define this county. What I didn't expect, though, to face is the possibility of looking at a structure that might be 35 stories tall going up around me, only 1,000 feet from my front door. And there's no consideration or setback regarding the property line. I note with some irony that the Arbor Hill project includes 1,200 feet setbacks, 1,200 foot setbacks for bat habitat. I kind of wonder why that is. If I think a little bit further beyond my little acreage, what this means for the rest of the residents of this county, how can we be assured that the proposed ordinance will actually prevent future projects, future wind energy projects in this county? The proposed settlement, which of course I read, it seems to even plan for the possibility of future expansion. And that to me is unnerving. Truly, I think about prolonged exposure to noise, of repetitive noise or constant noise. I mean, isn't that a form of torture? Where we're landing now sure doesn't feel like progress. MidAmerican is not going to walk away, and we can't either. We need a strong ordinance like the one that we had in December of 20. Thank you.
My name is Ronnie Scott. I live at 1311 190th Street, Earlham. I live in the region of the proposed Arbor Hill Wind Project. Diane has a great amount of knowledge of the dangers and harms that wind turbines can cause. Your musings are a testament to that effect. I found one of your musings from June 2020, and you had said that you were featured on WHO radio as the only person seeking office who is running openly opposed to erecting more turbines in my county. And then you said, I cannot, in all moral conscience, not support the Madison County Board of Health and their recommendation, which was 1.5 mile setbacks, was based on reading thousands of pages of information. Their decision was based on scientific information, not propaganda or personal feelings. After speaking with the National Fish and Wildlife, they informed me, Diana, the Indiana bats nest in Madison County. Learning what we have concerning Yellowstone National Park and the removal of the wolves is not something we want to repeat with the taking of bats. I, for one, choose to listen to the Madison County Board of Health, manufacturer recommendations concerning setbacks for residential homes, and the National Fish and Wildlife. I am listening to my constituents and will continue to fight for the large majority of this county who oppose more turbines. You ran your campaign largely on stopping them from coming in, and you won by a landslide. I was more than happy to help you campaign for the position you now currently hold. Your campaign and subsequent win are a testament to how the majority of this county feels about wind turbines. Diane, nothing has changed since you wrote your musing of 2020. All the facts you mentioned regarding the harm these things do are still true. That hasn't and will not change. Yet you are considering a settlement agreement with MAE that will bring more turbines into Madison County, as well as their own ordinance written solely for their own gain, which will result in harm to your Madison County residents. Also the wildlife, aquifer, and the land. So this potential settling with MAE is a hard pill to swallow. People can talk about the greater good and the other reasons for allowing them in, but there is no greater good, only greater harm to certain residents, the wildlife, the aquifer, and the land. If you live close to the turbines, there is potential for great life-changing harm. If you live far away, maybe even so far away that you don't see them, then maybe you think they aren't that bad, as long as the harm happens to someone else and not to you. What kind of a county have we become? Where is that Iowa nice, where the farmer who takes ill and cannot bring in the harvest finds his neighbors rallying to bring it in for him? When did we become the people who say, show me the money, and I don't care what harm it brings to my neighbor? One gentleman's going to love this. I'm quoting scripture. The love of money is the root of all evil, 1 Timothy 6:10. If anyone would do their own research and not depend on the research that is spoon-fed them by the wind industry, they would come to the very conclusions that the Board of Health of our county came to. I served on the Board of Health, and on June 12, 2019, I was pulled aside prior to the meeting by Matt Schultz and the board chair. Matt informed me that MAE had written a letter to the Board of Health accusing me of having a conflict of interest. This baffled me, because from the very first mention we heard about the wind turbines coming into Maxburg, my fellow Board of Health members knew how I felt about them. But I was told that because I was a participant to a lawsuit against them coming into Arbor Hill, and part of that lawsuit stated that if the turbines came in, that our property values, as well as others in the Arbor Hill region, would suffer. And that if this lawsuit were to prevail, and my property taxes would not be negatively affected, then that would be a gain for me. Therefore, I was told that that was a conflict of interest and I should not be voting and probably not even be a part of the wind turbine discussion. According to the county attorney, my conflict of interest would be that I had something to gain from keeping them out. My gain? Not losing property value if the turbines did not come in. So to continue in that line of thinking, anyone who is on a board that is responsible, in this case, for the wind turbines not coming into their neighborhood and therefore by not having a decrease in their property values would therefore have a conflict of interest. Here's where I have hard words to speak. And I say this to my friend Diane. I love you. You are my sister in Christ. But you are considering accepting a settlement agreement from MAE to limit the area of turbines to the Arbor Hill region of Madison County. This means they would no longer come into the St. Charles region, which is where Diane lives and where she has property, that she rents out to Madison County visitors. I ask you therefore, does Diane have a conflict of interest, much like I was told that I had a conflict of interest? And like me, should she recuse herself from voting on any matters regarding wind turbines that would benefit her? Since I am speaking of conflict of interest, Mr. Clifton early on had easements for turbines on property he owned. I heard him say at a meeting that he felt it was too important for him not to be able to vote on this matter. So he contacted MAE and asked to be released from these easements so that he could vote, which, lo and behold, they did. This is very unusual. Mary Jobst, as you have heard, and others have been requesting the same thing of MAE, only to be told no time and again. This sounds very much like special treatment from MAE to you, Mr. Clifton. So then, wouldn't that be considered at the very least a conflict of interest? And therefore, shouldn't you have to recuse yourself from voting and discussions as well? How does a board function with only one member who doesn't have a conflict of interest on the issue at hand? Does Heather get the only vote? Or do the three of you do nothing and leave the issue as it stands with Heather's ordinance and let the judge decide the outcome of the current lawsuit? Hurting others for financial gain is always wrong. By accepting a different ordinance other than Heather's ordinance would be hurting others. We are gifted with life on this earth for a limited time. We are to be good to the earth and to one another as we share this life together. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Maher, 1660 McBride, Bridgecourt, Winterset. We the people have not only the right and the privilege, but we hold the duty to protest unjust laws and the unlawful carrying out of just laws. This windmill project goes against the county supervisor's oaths to the Iowa Constitution to defend our rights to life, liberty, and freedom, and to protect our property, health, and happiness. In the same way, the Madison County Manual for Supervisors is written much the same. You are to preserve and improve the rights, privileges, and property of the county or of its residents, and to preserve and improve the peace, safety, health, and welfare, comfort, and convenience of its residents. I'm standing up for the people of Madison County who are greatly harmed by violations of one or more of those ways aforementioned. I am standing up for my children and my grandchildren who will inherit the messes we hand on to them. I am standing up for your children and your grandchildren as well. We absolutely have an obligation to hand on the beautiful, scenic county that we have enjoyed for our lives. We have no right to ruin it for our children. We've heard from many people here already. We have lots of evidence that we are pulling together for this battle. These turbines are not smart for here or for anywhere. Their claim to being the ideal energy source is not based in true science, as they are neither efficient, economical, nor are they non-threatening to the peace and security of Madisonians. They are harmful to the environment in so many ways, visually, wasteful of energy in the startup and in the teardown. They're noisy, causing headaches and proven to exacerbate epilepsy and seizure activity. It is proven that they leave a devastating mess behind after their short lifespan. They are not green by any stretch of the imagination, and we can prove it. That's all a lot of propaganda to favor big wind. We know that they cause harm to human physiology and psychology, as evidenced by even the Health Department of Madison County, determining that they are a threat to our health. They are part of Decarb 2040, which is not a weight loss program, but a program in the works, quote, positioning Iowa as an energy exporter in the coming era of deep decarbonization. Federal infrastructure and science policies are here in Iowa, calling for moonshot projects for carbon-free energy infrastructure to combat the anticipated large negative impacts of climate change, unquote. That is so-called climate change. And by the way, the human body is made of only 7 elements. The second most prevalent is carbon. Carbon from the air makes things. Plants use carbon from the air to build themselves. We exhale carbon dioxide that makes the plants, that the plants take up to grow, to produce, and to thrive. We then take up oxygen as a byproduct of those same plants in order to live, to grow, and to thrive. Why are we demonizing carbon? It's a necessity of life. So, how is it we are trusting anyone at this point to make dictatorial sweeping changes like MidAmerican Energy in how we do things after we've just been through with the deception and disgraceful handling of our rights, our freedoms, and our lives, and the very ways of our life? The wind turbine projects are all part of a larger scam, my friends. Do not be fooled. No way do we ignorantly want to volunteer our whole state, our beautiful county, to be their experiment to see how quickly they can destroy our farmland, our homeland, and our neighborhoods, our towns, and our places of recreation. It's called Decarb 2040. Look it up. We the people are speaking as it is our duty. We hold you accountable to listen to us and to do the right thing. If you don't listen to the cries from this audience this evening, then we will have to go a different route to hold you accountable. We don't have to remind you that you have a duty, an obligation to we the people by the fact that you took an oath to uphold our constitutional rights, as well as promising to protect us here on our land in Madison County through your duty to the obligations of public servants of the very same county. The fact that you are bonded, each of you, with a surety bond also testifies to the obligation that you have to Madison County people, farmers, land, and our state's livelihoods. We're putting you on notice. But there's one more thing I'd like to say. We have your back, and we defend you to the end if big wind and big energy takes you to task through a lawsuit. You have been there for us for many years together. We are grateful, and we know that you are in a tricky spot, but we are here for you now. We have God on our side, and we have truth and righteousness on our side. We are not afraid, and we will stand with you. Now go do the right thing. God bless you, and God bless Iowa.
Bob Waldron, I live at 1368 Elmwood Avenue, Earlham. I'm in a unique situation where I am. I live on 4 acres, 4.3 acres. I can't put a windmill on my property, but guess what? It looks like they're going to surround me. I look over at Stewart at night and I see all those red lights flashing over in the west, like an army getting ready to move in on me here. I guess what I'm saying is that it bothers me to not have any control of any of this. I'm just waiting. I'm surrounded. I don't know what to do. I feel claustrophobic because I have these things that are going to be around me somehow here. And I'm standing there, or sitting there looking out the window. I have a grandson that thinks he might want to have my place someday, but he says, "Grandpa, if there's windmills around, I don't want it." I'm worried about my property value. What if I want to sell it one of these days? I'm an old guy. And somebody comes out and says, "Well, I like your place, but I don't like those windmills around." What am I supposed to do? I'm surrounded. I have no control. And I feel like that right now in my country. Won't get into all that. But I have folks who are making the decisions for me, and I can't control that. Only at the ballot box, and I can't do that right now. So I'm just talking to you from the standpoint of a guy that doesn't know what to do. I can't help it. It's out of my control. And so if I get windmills around me, I will have windmills around me. I can't do anything about it. So I would ask the supervisors, friends, that one more thing I'll say quickly. And that is that I don't want this to tear people apart from each other. I can see hard feelings for the neighbors. You guys put that windmill up, and now I've got to look at it. It's not good. But I'll say this. Please do the right things, folks. I love this Madison County. I live out in that country area. I like to see the pastures. I like to see the cattle. I like to hear the cows bawling in the morning when I go out. I just don't want a bunch of windmills around me, and I can't control that. So that's all I'm going to say.
Hi, I'm Deb Coombs. I live at 1356 135th Street, right next to Bob. And I gotta say, when I came to a public hearing a while back, I was so proud of the supervisors to finally come up with an ordinance to protect the local residents. And I'm very disappointed that you're backing away. I like Bob. I love my place. I don't think I can live with a wind turbine as close as it is proposed to my house. And again, I wish I didn't have to sell if that happened, but I will have to do that. So I hope that the supervisors will do the right thing and not cave in to MidAmerican.
Steve Bedell, 1298 150th Street. I signed up for 2 of them in 2017, and I'm here to apologize because I tried to get out of it to all my neighbors. Anyway, I haven't got a word back from them, but we thought, you know, this would be a nice little nest egg when they retire, but we've got 2 in Adair County, and after going through all the rigmarole, getting them all done, and thank God in my grove I can't see them from there. But in case some of you people don't know, I mean, the majority of these people are from up there, and we have to look at them. So, and I'm not visual. I think it's all visual, but my parents built 2. I said, they asked me what I thought. I said, it's not my property yet. So, and they're absentee, they live in Stewart. And I know 3 of these of the 30 left up here are owned by people over by Menlo. So, you know, I'm gonna make some of the neighbors mad by saying this and some of them happy, but I've signed it away. I told them I'd give every damn penny back, and because you know we're still getting something for this. They're paying us whether we want it or not. When you sign up, you get something. So anyway, just wanted everybody to know that I'm here to say, for the record, that I don't want the damn things, but I guess we'll take them if we have to. So, okay, thanks.
I'm not an orator, so you're going to have to listen to me. First of all, I want to clarify one thing. When they're talking about the legal experts that they've talked to on this, I only know of 2 legal experts they've consulted. One is their insurance company that wants them to settle out of court because it won't cost the insurance company anything. Second one is our county attorney, and he will always sit at the right-hand side of the table with MidAmerica. I just want that clarified up. There's also spoken that these windmills are so beautiful in California. When you fly into California, which I have, you see these windmills on this ridge. I want you to know that them windmills are disappearing because they haven't run now for 8 years and they're dismantling them. So those 2 things I just wanted to clear up. Now, the one person we're talking about, MidAmerican, which is owned by Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett had a press conference or an interview with Forbes magazine, and also spoke at the University of Florida. And 3 things that he said that makes a respectable, and is who gets things done. And the first thing is intelligence. You have to be intelligent. You read, so you're intelligent. Warren Buffett reads 80% of the day. His waking hours spent reading. That's one thing. He said, unless you're intelligent, you have no reason to speak. Second thing is energy. And he said, you've got to be an energetic person. You got to know what you're doing, and you just cannot be afraid to say no. He said, if you're afraid to say no, then you've lost to start with. Now, this is Warren Buffett speaking. And the third thing is integrity. He says integrity is the main thing that you have to have. If you say you're going to do something, that's what you do. And that, he says, and with integrity, if you do not have integrity, forget the first two, because you'll never be successful if you don't stand beside what you say. Now, is there anything else I can tell you?
What's your name?
Oh, my name. My name is Marshall Harpole. 2095 Peru Road, Winterset, Iowa. I don't have a turbine near me. Well, I can see 52 of them from my house, but which is a few miles from me. But otherwise, that's my dog in the fight here. I don't want one near me. Thank you for your time.
Right. I'm Shelley Marsh, 1176 Adair Madison Avenue. If this vote to change the protective ordinance in place is for MidAmerican Energy and not the residents, the entire county loses. The environment, the wildlife, the waters, and soil loses. It will be a loss that will never be corrected. If this vote is for MidAmerican Energy, you will have ignored the Board of Health's resolution and recommendations made for any turbines to be built. You will have ignored all the new information and research that has come to light since the approval of Arbor Hill Wind Project in 2018. You will have ignored those who stood with you and put their trust in you. Gone will be our peace of mind, our clear views, our sunrises, sunsets, night skies will be cluttered and changed forever. Quality of life, property rights and values, health, safety, and welfare, all negatively affected because you chose the loss or gain of money over residents. Arbor Hill residents will be the collateral damage for a false sense of security. If you trust MidAmerican Energy, you are underestimating their agenda. They will be back and more threats will come. The loss or gain of money should never trump the health, safety, and welfare of your residents and those who trusted you to protect them. Right is right and wrong is wrong. You have the power to stand up to these corporate bullies that absolutely do not care about you or our county. Right out of the MidAmerican Energy playbook, they sue the county when they don't get their way, placing themselves back at the table in control, bringing negotiations behind closed doors so the public is not allowed to hear or take part, threatening large damages against the county if they do not get their way, damages that are unfounded, not exposed, damages that most likely occurred before the approval of Arbor Hill at their own risk. There is no guarantee of awarded damages for MidAmerican Energy, especially when Arbor Hill was included in the ordinance only to protect the health, safety, and welfare of those in the footprint. There have been new scientific information brought forward and our Board of Health's resolution and recommendations since the approval of Arbor Hill, all supporting the inclusion of unbuilt turbines. There was no legal injunction stopping the turbines from being built, and yet MidAmerican Energy chose not to build for over 3 years. Stand firm on your ordinance you put in place. Demand setbacks, megawatt limits, dBA noise limits for protection if more industrial turbines are to come. Let's talk about the money, the fear of millions. How is it fair to cost a homeowner in Arbor Hill hundreds of thousands of dollars each in property values, let alone their health and safety, versus a small amount of money a year for all landowners to keep turbines out of Madison County? And that's only if MidAmerican Energy is awarded damages. What happened to the cry, I would pay any amount of money a year to keep them out? The answer is no. We already saved the county over $1 million by preventing a wasteful spending. That money would be better spent keeping turbines out of the county. Arbor Hill should not be sacrificed with a false sense of security, of promises from MidAmerican Energy there will be no more. The loss or gain of money should never trump the health, safety, and welfare of your residents and those who trusted you to protect them. Please do not allow MidAmerican Energy or any other large corporation to bully their way into our county. I want it made clear to all residents in Madison County, there is no choice, no excuse that can be made that justifies placing you, your families, and your neighbors in harm's way. None. We must be able to trust that our elected county officials have our counties and our well-being first and foremost. Using fear of loss of money as an excuse is not acceptable. Who will be next when push comes to shove? You do not enable bullies. I ask, why are we even paying for county insurance if the insurance is not willing to pay a claim, threatens to terminate, or is nowhere near what we need? It's time to shop for another insurance company or self-insure. Once again, Arbor Hill is under attack by MidAmerican Energy, bullying their way into our county with threats of large damages, enough to bankrupt our beautiful county we are so proud of. I do have a request to have the county attorney add to the ordinance something that is in the application and was permitted for the Arbor Hill Wind Project. That's the total megawatts per turbine. For Arbor Hill, it was 2.0 megawatt. It would be beneficial and protective to have the megawatts listed rather than just the height alone. It's the megawatts that cause the harmful infrasound. If it's not stated in the ordinance, they may try to place turbines with higher megawatts at the height listed in the ordinance. The ordinance does say as permitted, so adding the 2.0 megawatts should not be an issue, but it really needs to be listed to be clear. It would have been easier to stay home this evening, but there again, it would have been easier to stay home for over 3 years and let them invade our entire county. We are here because fear has won over faith, it seems, because you have legal counsel saying settle because they know it's best for them and easier. But they are not elected to protect the residents, it seems. You are. We want you to regain your strength. Do not stand with those who are misleading for their own agenda. You do not need to carry this burden. Make no decision if you know in your heart it will hurt people. Let the judge decide. Your counsel will protect when they have to. We trust you. Trust us now. God has watched over us this entire time and will continue to give you strength to return and protect His people, your people. You can do this. Thank you.
My name is Rex Jack Stevenson. I live in Walnut Township, 3067 Pleasant View Trail. Now, that's about as far from Arbor Hill as you can get in this county. But I've been listening to
Your address?
3067 Pleasant View Trail. That's in Walnut Township. Like I said, that's as far away from Arbor Hill as you can get in this county.
Is that on?
But have no doubt, I have neighbors real close to me that have signed leases with MidAmerican. And I'll just make this short. If you agree with what they're trying to pull at Arbor Hill, they'll be back. They'll want more, and then more, and then more.
Rachel Terhar, 2046 Adair Madison Avenue. Waiting until this point, so much of my my topics have been covered by so many, and I agree with so many of them tonight. So I am here tonight to urge you, our elected supervisors, to not settle any agreement out of court with an unscrupulous mega corporation that does prey upon unprepared victims. They've been seeking to outpower us. It's been a valiant 4-year effort by a lot of our very decent-hearted people here. And at many levels, it's been a valiant effort by Diane and by Heather, for which we are very thankful. I just want to say revoke the permits. I don't know, that might just seem really simple, like, oh my dear, it's not that simple. I don't know why, because like when you look at our section 15 of the ordinance that was in effect at the time that the permits were originally granted, I mean, maybe it's just too simplistic, but has it been tried? I guess I'd like to know, has that been tried, or has it been tried to, well, first of all, I just want to let the court determine what to do, but has it been tried to revoke them, or to even have them reapply, you know, have to start over with the permit, with the application process? Section 15 of that zoning ordinance that was in effect at the time in 2018 says zoning certificate expiration. Zoning certificates issued in accordance with the provisions of this section shall be null and void at the end of 6 months from the date of issue, if the construction, alteration, or change of use has not commenced during the 6-month period. Proposed construction or alteration must then be completed within 18 months. So if you look at dates, if you want to stay with this a little bit, February 28, 2018 was when MidAmerican Energy submitted the 2 applications, one seeking a special use permit, the other seeking a variance to allow construction of a project referred to as Arbor Hill Wind Farm. And by the way, there are no such thing as farms. Calling them wind farms is really abhorrent to real farmers. We want our own farms. We want our own health. We want our own ecosystem, our own safety. We want our own natural beauty. Okay, so back to these this zoning regulations. So these applications sought approval from the county for the construction of up to 52 wind turbines, each being nearly 500 feet tall, for use in the production of electricity. Submitted with the applications were copies of easement agreements made between MidAmerican and 33 Madison County landowners, who each consented to the installation of from 1 to 5 turbines on their property. Okay, so that was February 28, 2018. Well, 6 months passed and construction didn't start. That brought us to the date of September 1st, 2018. 18 months then passed and no construction was complete. So that would bring you to September 1st, 2019. Even if it was claimed that litigation kind of stalled them, there was no injunction. There was no true court thing that said that they couldn't build. So even if you would start the date again from when the Board of Adjustment actually had to go back and redo their permitting with a special hearing on July 3rd of 2018, if you even go by those adjusted dates and start the clock for the 6 months, that would bring you up to January 3rd of 2019, that it hadn't been started. And then if you take 18 months, when it should have been completed, that would bring the calendar up to January 3rd of 2020. I just really don't know if our legal counsel has, you know, none of us know this really. We're not privy to that information, so I don't know if they've tried that and it's stalled out or what, but I just say that I think it still falls to the board. I've heard our county attorney say that many times. It always does fall to the board to even if you look at Iowa Code 331.301, home rule. The very first line says, a county may, except as expressly limited by the Constitution, and if not inconsistent with the laws of the General Assembly, the county may exercise any power and perform any function that it deems appropriate to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and property of the county or of its residents, and to preserve and improve the peace. Safety, health, welfare, comfort, and convenience of its residents. In conclusion, anyone who is harmed by this, it is on this sitting board. And even if one person is, but actually there already are residents in our county who have been harmed by the turbines that are near them. Might have been right across the road on the county line. I know that our lady who was just up here didn't talk about that, but having known her for 4 years, I'm totally privy to the facts that she and her husband suffer greatly from the effects of the turbines near them. And if any more were to come in on the other side of their home, it would cause them hospitalization probably. It's nausea, it's vertigo, it's migraines constantly. That's known, it's on record, that's been submitted over the course of years to our sitting board. They know that. I understand that a lot of this damage was inflicted and done by negligence from people sitting in administrative offices in our county, no names mentioned, but and that was done before Diane and Heather took on the board, but from this moment on, you can correct that. You can do the right thing and not cooperate with evil, not agree with the settlement. I have finished my comments, but I just would urge a certain Mr. Oxley in this room, if he would be take courage to come and share what their experience is in our neighboring county of Adair, which has also suffered greatly from the hundreds that got stuck in their county. Thank you.
State your name and address, and then you'll have 10 minutes.
Sorry, Nick. My name is Jody Ross. I'm at 1238 Pitzer Road. My family has resided on Pitzer Road since 1936. My grandparents, fathered by my father, bought farms and made 10 tons of their home. In October of 2021, my dad passed away leaving his legacy, his land. He was not a proponent of an industrial wind farm, nor am I. Number one, let's talk about the class and professionalism of Mid-America. If a concern is brought forward, who is responsible for answering to the citizens of Madison County? How quick will Mid-America respond? How many lawyers will it have to go through before someone answers our concerns once a windmill is constructed? I can give you a hint. You're not ever going to get an answer because big companies do not care about your concerns. They have a job to do. Did you hear that? Clearly a job. The wind industry creates 114,000 jobs in the United States. The problem is, the folks at Mid-America, this is just a job. It's not their day-to-day life. To live amongst an industrial wind farm is not a job. It's a nightmare of noise, pollution, visual appearance, casting of shadows, flashing lights, and environmental impacts such as erosion and migratory patterns. I also want to touch on renewable energy. The intermittency and variability of wind has not allowed wind energy to reduce the need for conventional power plants. Mid-America knows that ideal wind speed is 35 miles an hour for those turbines. Anything over can damage the blades, and anything under reduces their efficiency. Mid-America knows existing wind farms do not reduce the need for conventional power plants. But guess what? They don't care. They're not living it. We, the residents of Madison County, are and will for years to come, even long after their semis have pulled out once those turbines are built. Number three, let's talk about the tactics Mid-America use. They get one farmer to sign up, go to the neighboring farmer and say, well, you might as well sign up, so-and-so signed up. So another guy says, okay, okay, I'll sign up. Then they go to the next one and says, well, you already have 5 wind turbines around you. You might as well sign up. Then they go to the next guy, and all of a sudden we have 30 to 50 turbines. And next we need to ask ourselves, why are people who have already signed contracts wanting out? Because they have relatives over in the Stewart area or down by Maxburg, and they've seen the impacts of living amongst an industrial wind farm. The last thing I want to bring up is I want to look at where we are at federal level. The amount of money that comes into MidAmerica or that people have access to through grants depends on every administration that comes through, whether it's Republican or Democrat, and that changes with each presidency. If we look, history repeats itself, and is the direction and is the future wind is the future and direction wind? I don't think so. It cannot sustain itself because it is variable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I heard a male voice on the phone that wished to speak. Your turn.
Nick Starr.
Can you turn it up? We can't hear
No,
it.
that's all we got. All right. What's your address, Nick? And then you get 10 Okay, go ahead.
I want to start off by talking about setting a precedent. As a real estate agent in the state of Iowa, I recently been to a huge housing project that has restrictive covenants and ordinances within the community. A development of over 50 residential lots had one builder decide to make a change to the covenant and build a home without being within the setback of the development. After multiple attorneys for both city and county level go through the process, they have determined that that one change set a precedent for the rest of the development, which affected 50 residents. Today, this development has 7 homes in the property, affecting 43 remaining homeowners. We changed back and voted and passed a regulation at which a majority ruled. We now decide to change our mind. We have neighbors versus neighbors, family versus family, continuing on as we go through this role. We will continue to deplete property values, reduce our tax bases, to get pennies on the dollar for the investments that affect the residents of Madison County. This is not a settlement. This is a landslide for MidAmerican Energy. This is not a win-win situation. This is a let's give up situation. And we have no protection to say that we have not set the precedent that allows this person to go. Because again, we have decided to change the ordinance, to change the local governance and law. In Neighboring counties, we show the irresponsibleness of MidAmerican Energy. We recently was discovered that now parts of a MidAmerican Energy wind turbine was dumped in a neighboring county. We have the decommission structure, but now they're automatically dumping remains of old originalized parts in a neighboring county. What are they going to do with their 30 wind turbines? They change the propeller blades, they change all the other stuff. We supposedly have a plan in place that we put in place. But again, we accept the precedent by allowing the ordinance to go. Those will be additional lawsuits filed, whether it's with residents of Madison County, MidAmerican Energy, or anyone else that decides that this is not go in their favor. However, at least we're not fighting our fellow residents of Madison County. There has been another thing that I guess has bothered me in this process. Each one of you have decided to run and represent a resident from Madison County. We are now elected to support about 20 residents of Madison County versus 100 of Madison County residents that this will affect. one of you went through a personal benefit situation when this first started, but electably got out of the contract. The second one stood by her side from day one, got elected to, and followed through on their promise. The third one is wavering in fear because they do not want to stand up to a good company. I ask that that person make the right decision tonight and support the Madison County resident in the majority. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Mark Statlander, 2574 250th Lane. I want to give a little disclosure before I start. I moved in the county 23 years ago. I had an option to live anywhere I wanted to in any of the contiguous counties of Des Moines. I chose this place because of the serenity and the beauty of the county. My career for the last 30 years was helping people reduce their debt, accumulate wealth, and create charitable plans so they could give back to their church, their community, their school, or their favorite endeavor. So my perspective is purely financial. I agree with the positions that have been stated today, and I thank the board for allowing us to have this meeting. And unlike many of you, I don't have prepared notes, so I'm going to kind of speak off the cuff. But I believe that everything has a cost, and what I've heard is that the county is, or the supervisors are so concerned that they're going to lose, that there's going to be a tremendous cost, and this lady right here represented a bunch of those costs. I'm not knowledgeable enough to know whether that's right or wrong, but I'll concur that that's going to happen. What I see is happening if we settle, and I'm against settling.
We'll get to you in a minute.
What I see is what's happening is if we settle, is that you're transferring that cost to the people in the northwest part of the county. And Phil, you and I had a conversation, I don't know if you remember, but I do, 4 years ago, April. And this conversation was respectful, and I mean it to be respectful today. I asked you several questions about what was going on with the wind turbines, and I finally got to my question. I said, well, Phil, here's the bottom line. I'm 65 years old. I guess I'm really good at math. You know, I'm 69 now, right? I'm 65 years old, and I hear that the land values that are right adjacent to a wind turbine dropped 25 to 40%. And I said, I'm too old to recover from that. And you said to me, if you're that old, you need to retire and move to town. And I said, that's an option. And that wasn't a disrespectful comment. I didn't take it that way. Yeah, well, I do. I've remembered it for 4 years. Because what that said to me at that point was, there is an agenda here, and I'm not part of it. Again, it's not directed toward you, but there's an agenda, and I'm not part of it. What I'm saying today is, I've been in the fight against this for the last 4 years. And I'm part of that group that sued, and I'm part of the group that paid thousands of dollars to defend my position. My neighbor was on the Board of Adjustment that approved Arbor Hills, and we've farmed together for 17 years, and we've maintained our relationship because I went to him and I said, I disagree with you. I'm going to sue to prove my point, but it's not going to affect our relationship, and it hasn't. We can have meaningful discussions and get things done the right way and still be friends. What I'm saying today is that you're transferring, by settling, you're transferring that cost to the people in Arbor Hills. And I would venture to guess, if anybody took the time to calculate it, which it hasn't been done to my knowledge, that there are going to be millions of dollars of property devaluation by allowing this settlement. My other point is this. Why would MidAmerican settle? It's already been brought up. Why haven't they put up the turbines? Nobody's stopping them. Why would they settle now? Have they all of a sudden become a charitable entity that wants to do the best job for Madison County? For those of you that weren't at the public meeting in the northeast part of the county, when the people up there didn't want 4 miles of high line wires be put up on their property, and they asked MidAmerican to say, they said, could you just, run those underground? No, we couldn't afford that. That's not economically feasible. That came from the company that hasn't paid this county millions of dollars in taxes over the last 6 or 7 years. Now, all of a sudden, they're wanting to settle. Do you think that maybe there's a chance that, maybe it's that really small percentage chance that they think they're gonna lose? And I'm saying, this is personal. I'm saying this personally. I think you need to take this thing to the end, and everyone's concerned about the cost. Let's see, MidAmerican wants the wind turbines, they're gonna put them up, they're gonna pay taxes. Their taxes are gonna pay whatever cost that we have in settlement. And more, because we have the tax code rectified. I don't think there's a loss side for your supervisors. I think there's a loss side for the people in Arbor Hills, and I think it's substantial. And I remember sitting with you in Earlham, and we had a discussion at that public meeting. And in that public meeting, she leaned over to me and she said, well, do you think I should sell now before they come? I don't think anybody in Arbor Hills is gonna have to worry about selling their property. What's going to happen is you're going to sell it for a huge discount. And I also believe that all the people that are faced with that probably aren't going to be able to withstand a cost that affects one of their most valuable assets. It could be their most valuable asset. It's their home and their land. And I think it's I don't know what the right word is. It's again, I want to be respectful to you. I think it's just a terrible idea that you would not take this thing to the end to give them an opportunity to find out what's going to happen. And I, for one, I may not be everybody, but I, for one, am willing to pay my fair share of that settlement in support of the people that don't want it. Thank you very much.
Tommy Hagan, 1263 US Highway 169, Winterset. I was at the supervisors meeting a week ago today. There seemed to be plenty of confusion about what was in the new agreement, what had been in the original proposal. Now, I would expect that in the last week that our board here has eliminated all that confusion. They found out that what was permitted was a 2 megawatt generator. What was permitted was X number of feet tall, not 499, something different than that. I'm just saying that those things are important. Those details are important. The reason those details aren't in MidAmerica's agreement is because they're going to throw shadow of a doubt into your agreement, and they're going to say, well, what do you mean it doesn't say 2 megawatts? Those things are important, board. All those things that were brought up last Tuesday morning, all those little doubts. Reject this agreement, go back through, rewrite a new agreement with all those important points laid out, because lawyers have a way of finding a way around something if it isn't very specific. Be specific. Reject this, renegotiate, rewrite, bring something back that the people can agree to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.